Hi, everyone. So part of my initiative this year is to support paraprofessionals in their careers and supporting in any way really that I can. So one of the things that I've noticed is that some of us work in the after school program, some of us leave at 2:20. So one thing that I'm going to try to do is make videos talking about different topics that you've requested, and things that, as I've been teaching throughout the years, are things that I think would be helpful to know, so that you can continue to learn best practices for teaching and supporting our students. So one of the things that I've learned after working with Ms. Velez for so many years is that paraprofessionals are and continue to be such a vital part of the classroom. And working with different paraprofessionals over the years, I've been able to have paraprofessionals work in small groups with students and support the instruction in the classroom. So today I'm going to be focusing on running records because that is one area where we can always use support to help assess our students' reading levels. So I'm going to be sharing my screen and showing you a couple of things about running records. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my drive, and I have access to the running record. So I'm going to be able to share this with you in an email. Okay, so I'm looking for my folder. So we have running record assessment. So these are running records that the ELA team, Ms. Manovitz has put together, and Ms. Acosta, because every year TC changes their, well, not every year, but every couple of years, the assessments change. I'm going to stop my video so I can save my internet. So basically what happens is, for running records, our students need to be assessed to see what level they're at. So according to TC, I'm just going to pull that up, our students using benchmarks perform at certain levels. So this is the Teachers College from Columbia, TC. This is their assessments that they use for their benchmark grades. So if you see here, for example, in third grade, in September, kids that are reading at an N or above are considered above grade level or level 4. Kids that are reading at a M would be considered on grade level. K to L would be considered below grade level, and J or below would be really below grade level. And this is benchmark assessments that have been created after Teachers College has done research to see where students should be in certain grades at certain times of the year. And as you can see, as they move on to third grade, as they move to November and January, the letters change because it's expectation that the students grow as they continue to read. Okay, so this is where, and this is a really important resource, you can just Google, honestly, Teachers College Reading and Writing Project benchmark to see, like, okay, if I know my student that I work with is in 6th grade and it's January, that means the student should be reading at about a VW. And this is really helpful because it allows you to know where the students are and where they're expected to be. And it also is helpful for parents and family members so they know where the student is in comparison to other students at that age. Okay. So for this purpose of today, I'm going to pretend, just because I'm a 4th grade teacher and January is coming up, I'm going to be thinking about a student that would be in 4th grade. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I would look to see their scores from previous years. So in this drive that Ms. Manovitz has put together, there are different materials that I'm going to work through and explain to help you find data on our students' assessments. So right here, the folder is running record data. And if I click on that, this is grades 3 to 5. It'll tell me where the students were in June, October, and as I continue to assess. So I'm going to go to 4th grade because I'm a 4th grade teacher. I'm going to go to the bottom to find my class, 405. Okay. And I'm going to take a look at one of my students. So Gabriel is the first student that I see, and Gabriel in June was at an O. So what I would do is I would then, thinking about the alphabet, I would go back to see, well, what text am I going to give? So using the alphabet, After O would be P. So I'm going to try P to see how he does. Now there's two different sets in the folders. In 206, we use set 2, and then this is what you'll see. You'll see the text, and you'll see the running record. So this is what the teacher or educator would use to take notes on the student. Okay. And it kind of gives you a background of what the running record is. So the text is Justin and the best biscuits in the world. It tells you exactly what to do. So this is a level P. You say this part to the readers out loud. So you're just going to say basically what the story is about ahead of time to support the students with this brand new text. And you can always say, it says, if needed, you can repeat the information. You can point to the line on the student's copy to show where to read. So what the students do is actually on their version, and I'm going to show you with this one, on their version, on the student copy, it actually has a line. So this is what the students would have. It actually has a line to show where to stop. So the kids would read the first part out loud, and the rest they would read independently in their head. Okay. While the child reads, your job is to take notes basically on the child's reading. So what that means is usually what I like to do is I like to annotate how the child reads. So if the child reads like, I kind of use loops to show like how they're reading. If they're reading in 3 phrases, or if they're reading like, the problem is that I never have, right? So that's not really reading in phrases. So I usually use lines to kind of show how the students are reading, but you don't have to do that. It's just something that I do. And I do that so I know, like, if a student reads like, I personally do not mind writing, one of the skills I know that the student needs to work on is being able to read fluently or read in bigger chunks. Like, I personally do not mind writing. Okay. And then as you read, as the child reads, you mark if they say it wrong. So if the child skipped a word, I would put an X. If a child said minds, like MINDS, I would mark that down because that's an error. If the child inserted a word, so put the word like so when it wasn't there, I would make that mark. What's important to know with writing records is really if a word is said incorrectly, that counts as a miscue. If a student skips a word or if a student inserts a word, I usually don't count that as miscues. And then sometimes I'll say like, go back to read that sentence again. But also other teachers I know have different ideas around that. After they're done reading, they read the rest in their head. Then you say, can you tell me what the story was about? Can you summarize the important events, ideas about the characters, and tell me what was really happening in the story? And then usually I write down those ideas on the paper so I know if the child understands. And what's really important to know is if a child just says like one thing about the story, really means they did not know what the text is about. So you really can tell a lot when a child is asked to tell you what the story is about. So I write as much as the student says. Sometimes I say things like, can you tell me more? Or tell me like what else happened, or who were the characters? I kind of probe a little bit to see if they really understood. Then after that, you ask the question. So there's 2 questions that'll be directly in the text, which are called explicit questions, and 2 questions that are just kind of like based off their own idea. So then I would ask the question and I would just write check or no check or an X to see if the child got it right. And then what's really important is to think, well, how did you know if the child moved to that level? So what's really cool is that it kind of gives you a cheat sheet at the bottom of the running record as the final score, and you use that to figure it out. So does the student have a 96% accuracy? That means, did the child get 4 words wrong or less? So if the child got more than 4 words wrong, then that would be a no. And automatically that means this child is not ready for this level. Okay. Did the student give an accurate summary of the text? So did the student tell you a lot about what the text is about? Yes, maybe yes. And if that's the case, you also have to think about, did they answer 3 out of the 4 questions correctly? So if they got 3 questions correct, they're ready for the next level. If they got 2 questions correct, then you would go to a different level. So let's pretend for this case, Gabriel did not get all the questions right. He got 2 right and maybe got 5 errors in his reading. Then what I would do is I would then go back to a level O, and I would see how he did on an O. If he did better on the O, then that means that he would probably be at that level O. And that's happened sometimes when they come back from break, when they come back from a long summer. Sometimes it happens where the students are stay at the same, or even might go back to an N. Okay, so if he did pass the P, I would then also try the Q. And if he did a really, if he had a hard time with that, then I would keep him at a P. Okay, so this is something that takes like a lot of practice. I'm usually pretty, I'm not lenient. So if the student really doesn't show they understand it, it's best to keep them at the lower level, because you don't want them to be frustrated when they read on their own. You want them to be able to read on their own and understand stories at their level. So that's a little bit about running records. And I'm going to send this video to you along with the ELA folder, so you have that, and with the TC benchmark. Okay, so thanks for listening in, and next week or next time I'll check in about a different topic. Thank you. Bye.